really happy to have you, Lucy Kennedy, the CEO and founder of Spottitt, on the Geospatial Index. It's serendipitous to have come across you, I feel, and I'm starting to investigate actually a few of the geospatial companies in the UK, which is nice. Another one recently was IQGeo, who are slightly different to Spottitt. You're more on the remote sensing side. IQGeo is more on the network modeling side. But nevertheless, it's nice to have the chance to chat with you. So thanks for joining.
Thanks for inviting me. Pleasure to be here. Nice thing to do on a Friday afternoon.
Okay, so it's good, I think, to start looking at your background as the starting point, because it's not specifically about remote sensing from the beginning, or even the space sector. So as I understand it, you're a chemical engineer by education, and for the first 18 years of your career. So how'd you end up doing Spottitt?
Yeah, it wasn't planned. You know, if you'd asked me when I finished my Chem Eng degree, what do you want to do? It certainly wasn't that I wanted to go into space or that I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to go off and work for a blue chip company, which is what I did. So I went to work for Procter & Gamble, and I built washing powder production lines and Pringles production lines, and had a lot of fun doing that. Life happened. I fell in love. I moved from Belgium to Holland, had babies, and when we were actually coming back to the UK, I had a fateful phone call with two other gentlemen who I knew from various different parts of my career. We were having a general chat, and one of my friends, Marcello, he was in the renewable energy sector, and he was complaining about how they were doing these multi-billion-dollar projects, but you wouldn't believe the Mickey Mouse data that we use to find sites that have a suitable geography. And I wouldn't mind if it was cheap, if it was quick, if it was accurate, but it's none of these things. And we were kind of left scratching our heads saying, yeah, but isn't there satellite imagery, and now there's AI and analytics? Couldn't we just look anywhere in the world and work out for you if it was a suitable site for development and where the nearest building was? And I was kind of between countries and between jobs, and we knew about the European Space Agency. It was back then the ARTIS program for grant funding sort of ideas for commercializing the use of space data. So I said, oh, let's make an application. And we thought they'd tell us to, go away. None of you have any background at all in space or remote sensing. They politely pointed it out, but said, you've all got great business skills in other areas, and it's a good idea. So we actually got funding. And, Spottitt was basically spun out from the completion of that project. So suddenly, at I don't know, at age 43, I had became an entrepreneur.
This is really inspiring, because I'm 40 myself, and all these.
I didn't have a decent business idea until in my 40s. So I'm always impressed by meeting these young people, and they've got so many ideas, so much energy, but we can still do it as well.
All right, good.
In our 40s.
All of those approaching middle-aged, listen up.
Yep.
Okay. So I think I heard the beginnings, at least, of an elevator pitch there for Spottitt. But we do like to collect elevator pitches on this show. So could you
it's not
give
my
us that?
forte, but I'll give it a shot. Yeah, so Spottitt is about making access to geospatial data, analytics, and metrics super simple for business users. So we're not sort of focused on consumer markets, but basically there's 260 billion pounds a year worth of avoidable losses in and around our infrastructure assets that we wouldn't need to have if we knew what the hell was going on around them. So this is basically what's driving people's desire for geospatial data, but it's really complicated. And Spottitt makes it really easy for owners of critical infrastructure to quickly get access to complex things like satellite imagery, our in-house analytics, and the metrics derived from that, all delivered in a really easy to consume way for our clients. So that's what Spottitt's about. So we focus on infrastructure and predominantly owners of linear infrastructure at the moment.
Great. You've just answered the next question. So that's the niche that you are at least attempting to dominate or participate in.
That is the niche at the moment. Of course, the big hairy goal goes way beyond that. Name a sector, and there's something that satellites can do, or something we can simplify from the point of view of satellites and geospatial data in general. But that's where we are playing now.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so just to clarify, so when I was, I guess, initially introducing you, I was given the impression that you were about remote sensing or Earth observation data, but you used the term geospatial in the elevator pitch, not to turn this into some sort of examination. But does Spottitt
Why
think
is that?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually on purpose. That's not by accident. So the core of the monitoring services that we provide are based on satellite data, so remotely sensed data. So you're quite correct in that sense. But we do increasingly incorporate other sources of geospatial data, because that ultimately makes our services better, higher value, and more attractive to our clients. And I think it's also something that you'll see more and more, is that when you look broader at data sources and data sets and combining data, you can better meet your customers' needs with a broader view than just EO. They're also very different market sizes, right? So the EO market compared to the complete geospatial market, there's a huge difference. So there are also business reasons why you would want to not exclude the broader opportunities that geospatial offers alongside EO.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I always love to hear the numbers about or trying to an angle for this show is the finances. So so then the next one to me to just discuss briefly is that you mentioned, was it $260 billion?
260 billion pounds per year is of avoidable losses.
Right. Are you
Much of
talking
that is,
about damaged infrastructure or?
this is damaged infrastructure, interruptions,
Okay. Yeah.
natural disasters, climate change, the whole host of different things. But it's a chunk of things that's considered avoidable by the people that do clever market reports and cut and slice the numbers in that way. And it's a big number. I mean, it works out as about £2,000 per year per kilometre of power line, road, underground pipe. So it's not a surprise that that's driving a huge demand for remote sensing, geospatial in its broader sense, services, data.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
It's driving a big market. It's a big growth market.
Sure. And there's a lot that I'm unpacking here, but I just feel like there's a bit to dig into. So the last one, I think, is that you flagged the renewables sector. It just seems like a booming industry at the moment across the UK, and I guess really in Europe as well. And it almost feels like your business. It's a funny way to put this, but when I did the investigation in the episode with Archegeo, because there's also a boom around the world with fiber optic rollout and everything related to that. And in Archegeo, it almost felt like that industry had almost stood up its own geospatial analysis company that did analysis and produced software specific to networks. And it was like IQGeo was an expression of the need for that particular, that industry. And I wonder if it's like a theme here as well with Spottitt, that the renewable sector has this problem, but then also infrastructure operators
Well,
and
I
new
think
businesses
that,
specific to that emerge.
Well, I mean, entrepreneurs are there to meet the needs of their clients, right? And I think that's when you look at a remote sensing, geospatial, whatever company, you need to look at their source of the revenues. It's a sector that's very much, historically been bolstered by grant funding, innovation funding, pure commercial I have a problem and I want to pay you to fix it, and I want to pay you this year and again next year and the year after that. It's actually been small, but it is growing now. So I think Spottitt, that's a reflection of companies saying, okay, let's try and tone down the grant funding type. Let's see if we can really make this a commercial sector and be commercially driven companies. Because it's only through that you can seek external funding, grow faster, and things like that. So it's not a surprise then that I think, companies like Spottitt and others find a market where there is a need that can be met and where they have a client that is willing to pay for it. We still work with renewable energy clients, but actually 80% of our business is with utilities.
Wow.
And that's just because of the size of their problem and the fact that they're willing to put more money towards solving it. And it was quite funny actually when Spottitt incorporated and launched in 2018 was when Trump came into power. So the renewable energy sector went, meow. We realized pretty quickly, people weren't going to be scouting for loads of new sites.
Yeah.
And we had to look around to see, where we could, drive commercial growth.
Yeah, all of this is really interesting, I think, for people who have an entrepreneur's mindset in our industry. So yeah, really appreciate the reflections there. Okay, so moving on, I guess, to some aspects that an investor might look at. One question that an investor often asks is how much skin in the game is there on the part of management?
Oh, well, everybody in Spottitt has skin in the game. All my employees, we just launched last year an employee stock option plan, which everybody took up, which I think is really exciting. So everybody does. But we have external investors. We've never done a big round, but yeah, basically more than 75% of the company is owned by the founders, a management team, and employees.
There we go. Okay, so there's great alignment
So lots
there.
of skin, lots of
Yeah.
skin all over the place.
Excellent. You're very well incentivized. Okay, good. So then we have discovered, I guess there's two focuses or markets perhaps that you're in, renewables, but particularly focusing on infrastructure operators or utilities. So once you've identified a particular customer, how might you work back from their needs to some sort of a technology or service or product from Spottitt?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and there probably is no easy and short answer, right? So it's quite easy to make the leap between I think you have this problem, and technically I have I could have a solution that meets your needs. And I think we often leap too quickly in the remote sensing world because there's a lot that can be done academically or technically, but that's a world of difference between having a commercially viable service. So
Yes.
you really have to get
That's why
go
the
into
focus on customer needs.
go into a lot of detail, and it's beyond the actual analysis, what it does, how accurate is it, what resolution. I mean, those are easy things to cover, but we also need to go into, well, how do you want to find this service? Is it public tenders? Are you just going to pay for it with your credit card? Do you need to, are we going to plan this 5 years ahead, or are you just going to come and tell me the night before that you need this? There's a whole range of different questions, and it's very different per sector. So I'm now working in a sector where we can do a sort of a small scale proof of concept quite quickly and easily, but anything beyond that is a public tender, and we have to be ready, willing, and able to win those. So it's a long journey. I would never delay talking to potential customers. There is no such thing as too early in talking to your customers, and be really critical of yourself. It's very easy to fool yourself into thinking that you've got it right. And in reality, very few companies, it takes a long time to really get product market fit. I mean, product market fit really means that people come to you begging to buy your service. And, historically, there are a few companies that, achieve that. And so the rest of us have to be dissatisfied with what we're doing and constantly look to achieve more, hand in hand with customers.
I've heard the term product market fit. I've actually studied product management, but I
you're
think
better qualified than me then, Will.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've heard of Grubhub. It's one of those food delivery services, but I watched a presentation at some entrepreneurs conference or something by one of the founders, and he showed all these metrics about essentially the uptake of their service as a way to sort of illustrate the inflection point where they achieved product market fit. Is there, without wanting to get into too much detail, do you talk about product market fit much at Spottitt?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, we talk about it internally, we talk about it externally with potential investors. Everybody has a slightly different view. The term does mean different things to different people, and there's no right answer on that one. And I think at different phases of your growth, you're going to use different KPIs to mean that we maybe incorrectly say we've achieved product market fit. What we probably should correctly say is we've achieved the next step on the nirvana journey to to not having to call anybody, not having to go to any conference, and people just ring and say, I want your service. I think for SaaS companies like us, it is standard SaaS metrics like follow-on contracts, churn rate, average spend per year, and things like that. You can set yourself milestones for those, and that is basically going to show you that you are or aren't achieving your product market fit journey goals. Let's call it a journey.
Love that term. Okay.
It's true, right? It's true.
I should start taking notes of all these, all the jargon to do with entrepreneurship. Okay, so we've moved on nicely then to the next question of how fast customer growth is for Spottitt.
Okay, so if we strip out all our grant and innovation stuff, as I said, we've been turning off the tap on that one. Our commercial revenues were 3 times in 2023 what they were in 2022, which is really, really, really satisfying. We launched let's say a new product, Spottitt Metrics Factory, in the middle of last year to better meet our customers' needs. So, next step on our product market fit journey. And we've now got 15 users on that in 7 months. In terms of annual returning revenue, we got a new contract with National Gas, which pushed us over the 500,000 mark.
There we go.
Happy, but of course, constantly dissatisfied. That's my job as CEO.
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly the attitude. Wow, that growth rate's incredible. Yeah, wow.
More grey hairs to show for it.
Sure, I'll hide my head now. I'm starting to get them too.
I can't see them from here. Well,
good. It helps when you cut your hair. Okay, so I see that Spottitt covers power, oil and gas, as you've just mentioned with this recent client, and infrastructure sectors. So which one generates the most revenue, and which is growing the fastest, would you say, and why?
So it's power and gas. So there's a toss-up between which one's running ahead a little bit. Power is most in the news, let's say vegetation encroachment, wildfires, but actually gas has a lot of similar problems. They don't generally care about how tall the stuff is, but they're supposed to keep their rights of way clear as well, and that they don't want wildfires and things like that either getting too close to their lines. So actually I would say both of those are fairly even Stevens, but we also see now railway starting to say that actually maybe they can't do everything with their whizzy trains that go along with all the sensors and measure everything, or they can't do it all as frequently as they would want to, and roads as well. So, but yeah, power and gas are the winners at the moment.
Okay, good to know. For those listening and paying attention, there's some advantage. Okay, so then between SATCOM, SatNav, and EO, there's some acronyms for you to perhaps unpack.
Yeah.
EO is the only one of the three that hasn't had its hockey stick moment in market growth. So why not? And is that moment coming?
Oh, well, we're optimistic believers. So why not? Um, from that point of view, I'd say it just hasn't been good enough, right? The services we've provided have not been compelling enough for clients, and that is a number of reasons. Some of those can be data access reasons, analytics reasons. You know, if something's 70% accurate, is that good enough? You know, are you going to go for it or not? And the other is, I think that my sector has generally not been very good at creating services. We generate analytics and algorithms to do clever things, but that's not, from the point of view of a client, necessarily a service or the end goal that they want to achieve. As to
Question.
the point of, is
Yeah.
that going to change?
Yeah.
Yes, it's getting, the analytics are getting much, 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 much better. And that opens the door. We do start to see now people delivering services as opposed to analytics. And we are being helped on the other side. Climate change is forcing the need for this. Regulation is forcing the need for this. The age of our infrastructure is forcing the need for this. And also the change in societal expectations. When I was a little girl in my village in the UK, it wasn't outrageous to have a power cut, and nowadays it's unacceptable. My radiators don't work if I have a power cut because they've got smart thermostats on them. So we live in a different world now.
Right. Okay. And you were making a distinction there between analytics and services. Could you develop that point a bit further?
So I think when we talking about the remote sensing world, we're very used to seeing beautiful pictures with colourful blobs everywhere that says, this is a cornfield, this is a rye field, this is a house, here's a building, here's an area that's changed. And that's really important when you first engage with the client and you do that first proof of concept, because we are humans. Seeing is believing. That's the beauty of satellite imagery, right? You can see it, you can believe it. And everybody's looking at the pictures and trying to see where you've got it right, and everyone's looking for somewhere where they've got it wrong, just like with TomTom in the beginning. You wanted to beat TomTom, see if you could do better. But of course, our clients have thousands of kilometers of infrastructure. Once they start to scale out use of our services, they're not looking at the pictures anymore. That's not the service. Yes, somewhere in on a line of a table there might be a button you can click and that zooms you back to the source imagery and the colorful stuff. But actually, and that was one of the things that prompted our development of Spottitt Metrics Factory. Our clients want to map all that data to their assets. They want me to tell them, on span, you have got 24 spans with trees that are taller than that height and less than X meters from the line. They don't want to see the picture. What are
Exactly.
they going to do
Okay.
with the picture?
Okay.
All sits behind. So that's the difference. Service, analytics.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Thank you. This is a real. I'm going to school. It's great.
Yeah, come on, you know it all. You know it all. And I think if you look at, geospatial means different things to businesses. If I look at our client base, what that generally means to them is that they have a GIS system. They maybe have one or two GIS people, but what are those GIS people doing? They're essentially curating layers and layers of geospatial data. They're not, there's no analytics
Yep.
that's going on
Yeah.
at
That is
all.
common.
They
Yeah.
need external help for that.
Okay. Sorry, what was that new platform that you recently produced?
Spottitt Metrics Factory.
Okay, so that's an example of a business in the industry responding. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And clients are, it seems to be really resonating with clients.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So we have to talk about AI. It's all the rage. But then for remote sensing, deep learning algorithmic analysis of matrix data sets has been common for years, decades.
Yeah.
So does your business and the remote sensing industry really care about the latest wave of AI hype? And if so, what are some ways at Spottitt that AI is making an impact?
Okay. All right. So I think AI is one of the reasons why EO and geospatial services have got a lot better, right, to the point that they become commercially interesting for clients to pay for them. So the hype in that sense is real. It doesn't feel like that because people have been doing it in our sector for a long time, right? Um, it helps in terms of algorithms. We're using AI to create training data because that's also one of the challenges. How do you create these large and representative training data sets from data that can be quite expensive if you're talking about high resolution and things like that? But of course, we can now use AI to create pseudo training data to feed our AI algorithms. So I think that's all going quite smoothly. I would say, that's kind of par for the course within our industry. I think the frontier as a business of that is how would we use AI in a way that helps our customers, right? So, mm, you know, instead of someone coming into Spottitt Metrics Factory and setting up variables and a report, could they ask Spottitt Metrics Factory, show me the trees that are in poor health and, less than 10 meters from my line?
So like a
Um,
natural language
like a
interface
natural
for
language
the platform.
interface.
Yep.
So I think that the, the, the sector is doing it naturally in terms of analytics development because that's our bread and butter,
Mm.
right? It'd be nice to see if we can embrace that from the point of view of how customers interface with our services and where AI plays a role there.
There was a similar there was the same sort of theme in the response from the episode with Steve Atwell about ordnance surveys trying to
Mm.
keep up with generative AI, and the concern at Ordnance Survey was more about how AI systems can leverage and access and use the vast databases that Ordnance Survey has. So yeah, interesting. There's a to hear you carrying on that theme.
I mean, AI is, as long as you don't give it free rein, it is absolutely transformational in certain ways. You know, you got to know how to train it. You got to know the parameters in which to use it, and what decisions you make based on what you know what things have been generated by AI. But yeah,
I've got a question about the training there. So because you were saying you were generating training data sets using AI. So
can do. Yeah,
are there risks to do with that?
that comes to the skill of your machine learning experts. There is skill in creating training data sets and
Yeah.
how you balance them and how you tag your data. It's very true, rubbish in, rubbish out. That hasn't disappeared with AI. But for example, you can use a small subset of real satellite
That's what I'm used to
imagery.
hearing. Yeah.
Exactly. And you can, within certain parameters, modify that such that from the point of view of your neural net that's being trained, it is a new
Okay.
training data input.
Yeah.
But it's not free reign. It's not that we're sort of sitting there and saying, give me 3,000 pictures of aeroplanes and they look you know, like crazy aeroplanes and stuff like that.
Right,
So
with 3 wings, and it will somehow train itself to expect 3 wings. That, yeah.
exactly.
Good. Yeah. Again, really interesting to hear the details here. Okay, so it seems that you offer a number of software products. What is Spottit's approach to product management? Is it worthwhile? Is it a worthwhile focus for someone wanting to take their career in a new direction?
So I would say that the the role of a product manager is critical within a company that says that they are a customer-led, commercially led business, right? So it's someone that makes the link between what's going on commercially and what's going on the product and what the client's needs, and keeps you on track. Now, as Spottitt has grown, that is the role that we currently miss, and we'll be looking to fill that, when we complete our next funding round, because we miss that. So we do it, but that's because we're a small enough company to talk to each other and to wear 2 hats at the same time, in that sense. But as a company grows, that is an important connection point.
Okay, I really feel like I'm delivering on my promise with this podcast to provide intelligence on the industry
All right,
to
okay,
listeners.
well,
So
on
keep an eye
Spottitt,
out for
so
job
I
postings.
don't claim to be the industry in its entirety. Wouldn't that be nice? We would definitely reach product market fit then if we were the industry.
Okay, so last one then. In the UK, it's possible to undertake a geospatial apprenticeship. What qualities, skills, or ambitions should an apprentice have to do well at Spottitt?
Okay, you need to code. Doesn't matter whether you're a software developer or not, you need to code. So that's one thing.
Do you
I
have
think
any
the other
suggestions about languages or?
Python's a real favorite at the
Yeah.
moment. R comes in second if you're consuming more kind of climate and weather data, but yeah, we use a lot of Python in Spottitt. I think the other things, we do need people who are not afraid to be asked to do something they've never done before. Because a lot of the time we're saying, well, client wants this, what do we think we could do? And so I need, Spottitt is full of people that go away and scratch their heads and come back with ideas. And if that fills you with fear, that would be a great fit
To me,
for you
that's
in
just
that sense.
that's just reinforcing the point before about working backwards from customer needs, and sometimes the needs are scary, and bridging the gap to a solution or some product.
Exactly. What else would I say? Yeah, and it's if people are slightly dissatisfied, right? And constantly questioning, how can we do this better? And it's as much about, how can we make the algorithm better as how can we make the whole service better, the whole customer experience
Mm.
better
Mhm.
for our clients.
Okay, so to sum up, the CEO of Spottitt requires hunger.
Hunger, slightly, yeah, hunger that can never be satiated, right?
Sure. Yeah. I think that's a great message, an important one for any apprentices or those listening or those who are interested in getting into
But
the
I
industry.
would say I think this is a really this is I'm living proof that this is a sector that embraces people who've got ideas, want to go about doing them. I'm not treated like a chemical engineer that's
Right.
having a dabble in this sector.
Mm.
I get invited to do podcasts and things like that with you. So
Yes, absolutely,
there
and
you
they're
go.
entirely and absolutely legitimate. So yeah, no, I really appreciate your inputs. Cool. Well, I think that's a nice place to wrap it.
That's fine.
And I wanted to confirm you are in Oxford, right? Or
I
Spottitt?
am Spottitt is based in on the Harwell space campus. We have our UK offices here, and we have a 100% owned Polish subsidiary, and the team there sits in offices in Wrocław.
Very interesting. So I'm satisfied to say I've covered off businesses from both Cambridge and Oxford now on the
There you go. So it's
podcast.
all fair. It's all fair.
Good. Okay, great. Well, lovely to chat, Lucy, and
Thank you so much for having me on.
keep track of your developments and hopefully see an IPO at some point and we can buy shares.
Oh, who knows? Yeah, exactly. Or come work for Spottitt, right? Because then you get stock options as an employee. That's another way.
I'll say no more, Lucy.
All right. Thanks very much. We'll have a lovely weekend.
Cheers. You too.
Bye-bye.